Welcome to episode 13 of the No BS Pagan podcast. Today we are joined by my friend Anders Nilsson from Sweden. Anders is a craftsman, an author, and the creator of Odin World Prayer Day. Thanks for joining us, Anders.
Thanks for inviting me.
My pleasure. So let's start from the beginning. So when did you first make a connection with Odin?
Well, that's quite hard to say. I think he's always been there around, just waiting for me to grow up a bit. But
Yeah.
it's sort of, I mean, I've had it since I was a little kid, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Being able to see the spirits around here, and
Yeah.
well, but the active role actually started. I was maybe 14, 15. I bought my first rune book, um, and then I did the rune set, which I still use today. So that's quite a few years in use. um, but somewhere around there, I took the sort of the more mature step in ritualizing my inner world.
Oh. And did you come from was your family, were they pagan or were they Christian?
We are in Sweden. we we are very non-religious at all.
Okay.
Yes, I think we
So,
are the most what do you say, secular uh, country in the world,
oh,
I guess. So
okay.
here it's sort of abnormal to have a strong faith.
Oh. So what about paganism in Sweden? Has that become more popular?
Over the years, yes, definitely, but still, it's not like in other countries where sort of religion is more normal,
Mm-hmm.
like the U.S. It's sort of how you are. If you're not religious, you're a bit strange in that way.
Yeah.
So it's the opposite here.
Oh, wow. I actually didn't know that.
Mm.
So you have been able to see spirits since you were a kid then, and I know that about you, that you are a bit of a seer.
Mm. Yeah, it was quite annoying as a little kid, um, because and I didn't speak to anybody about it. It was more like normal day-to-day thing. Um, but it was strong. They were around me playing here, and I was a bit embarrassed. And they were standing looking and, come on, grow up,
And did you
sort of.
know spirits at the time?
What?
Did you know there were spirits at the time that you
No, no,
started? No.
no. I was like, I mean, from the first I remember 6, 7 years running around in the forest here playing soldier.
Uh-huh.
And I remember it so well. The sort of the tree line were packed of, well, ghosts, spirits,
Mhm.
just standing there watching. And I remember they were sort of like waiting, grow up and come on. Um, but I was never afraid. They were just there. Yeah.
Would you have considered them more like a neutral presence in your life, or do you remember distinctly positive or negative experiences?
More neutral,
Mm.
actually. When, at least when I was a little kid.
Yeah. Mm.
it happened. I mean, when we started to more actively engage in practice, then we met lots of other
Mm.
not so nice stuff, but also more nicer than not nice. So, you know,
And when did you get on to the path of polytheism? Like how did that come about?
it must have been around there, 14, 15 years old, starting to dive deep into philosophy and the Vedic stuff, and read a lot of odd books. And well, it's just me. I am that way. Um, so I guess it started there, more formally, doing
So it was
rituals and such.
the Vedic path was the first path for you.
No, it wasn't. But the philosophy there, I really liked. It's always been the Asa true for me.
Okay, and so when you started to walk on the ancestral path, did that strengthen your abilities? Did you notice?
I mean, when you open that door to the other side, there's no going back, and there is no closing that door. And after that, nothing happens by chance or accident. It's just you are on the right path.
Mm.
Yeah. So the abilities, yeah, well, they come as a side sidekick. It's not that is the important, but they will definitely help you.
Hmm. Yeah. And do you think paganism has grown then since you first started? Like, has it evolved or has it become more for the masses and therefore degraded?
Both, but I mean, growth, yeah, enormously. Um, it was a non-existing thing almost a few years. I mean, like 20 years back.
Hmm.
It was a very little subculture, few people. But now it's sort of it's become mainstream almost in some
Mm.
ways, which is sort of I mean that is the path of our folk, of course. The archetypes are coming back strong.
Yeah. Because the archetypes can't die.
No, as Carl Gustav Jung said, a very good analogy. Archetypes are like dried out riverbeds. They are there, like a dried out riverbed, but they are still there, and they will sooner or later be filled with flowing water. So I think that is a very good explanation for it.
Yes. Excellent. And what is your regular practice? So I know that you do Odin World Prayer Day, which you started, what year was that?
2015, it
And
was.
that's become really big. Like that's a huge thing now.
Yeah, it is. And that was the main reason for starting it. Yes, to make that riverbed overflow again. And that
Yeah.
for that to happen, we need people actively engaging and putting in their energy and time and soul into that riverbed. So
Yeah.
um, well, it was very, very big in the beginning when Facebook let me use that platform for it. We were like sometimes 300 people, clicking in "I'm coming." Don't know how many of them, but I think since then we have sort of, it's around 200 people, I guess, each time, 150 to 200. And one important thing for me, at least in practicing, is discipline, and discipline and discipline, not slacking. And if you make an appointment with the other side, you better hold that to the minute. And I haven't missed once since 2015. I've been late once, 30 minutes waiting for another participant. So that is very important for me, to hold that strict line of dedication.
Yeah, and to not miss one in all that time, that's a pretty remarkable feat for a Sagittarius.
I know. I'm quite proud of it.
Yeah.
I am. I don't know how I managed.
So did you see your external world change when you started on this, or kind of solidified this path of your ancestors? Did anything happen in your like external life that was different?
Well, everything gets different. It's hard to point out one. But it's also when I'm speaking of this, I'm speaking of self-experienced happenings, and not a mental "I am a believer now." That won't help you. You have to experience this yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Then the door will open. You can't mentally force this.
Yeah. And it really comes through the ritual as well. It's not really enough to believe, or to intellectualize it. It's really
I
the
mean,
spiritual.
it's like if you want to move a mountain, you can sit and wish for that the whole life. It won't move. But you can start dig. I mean, you have to do and discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two main ingredients, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have sometimes discussed about the resistance. There's a dark force that's resisting this awakening of the people back to their ancestral path. How could you describe that?
Well, it's not that hard. I mean, there are forces in nature. It's wrong to call it positive and negative, because there is no thing like that. But they are attracting, and I don't know the English word. Chaotic then, and upbuilding forces. One force that creates stuff, and one force that destroys that. I mean, it's a balance. But right now, and we have a unbalanced world.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do beautiful things. That's a good way to start. Create stuff that
Do
is
you have
nice.
a personal opinion on people? Because I know this has become more popular recently, especially on YouTube and the internet. People that work with Jotun in their magic practices. Do you have a personal opinion about it, or even a personal experience?
Yeah, I've met a lot of chaotic beings, yes, and I have no understanding for giving power to them.
Mm.
That's, I mean, well, it's up to each and one of us, but still, if you are one of our folk, whatever you do affects us as well,
Mm-hmm.
for the collective coming up. So the more good we do in what good is, but you know, the better we help others as well in the collective. And not only right now, also into the future. In that way, we are
Yeah.
strengthening our fylgja, our collective folks fylgja. So,
What about the importance of our ancestors?
well, we are our ancestors. Without them, we wouldn't be here. And we are definitely ancestors in training. So we better be good because in the future we will be those guys. Mm.
Yeah.
So they are as important as we are.
Yeah.
We are not different. We are the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's been such a terrible trick that has been played upon, every tribe on the planet is to forget
Mhm.
about their ancestors.
Definitely, and it's a cheap one to manipulate people. It's
Yeah.
just controlling. That's that's why.
Yeah. So, you mentioned that Odin World Prayer Day was inspired by a ancient Vedic ritual.
Yeah, definitely for Shiva. And especially, I mean, Odin has somewhere around over 200 names, and the same goes for Shiva, maybe more there, but they are, when you study those two deities, they are very the same, much the same. So I picked that up because I used the 108 puja for Shiva, and then offer they offer milk or clarified butter, ghee, onto the statue or onto the lingam. And for each offering, you say one of his names. So it's 108 names. And 108 is, well, 8 plus 1 is 9, of course. But it has much more significance than that, which I can't explain because it has with the sun and the moon and the circumference of the sun is the diameter. Yeah, it's very much complicated.
And in your book, I have it right here, by the way, The Way of
Yeah.
Wotan. You write them down, the 108 names that you chose. Now, you said, and yet there are more than 200 now. You handpicked these 108 names yourself. And is there a reasoning behind that, or you just went like, well, it has to be this one?
No, I didn't think about it that much. More than I wanted a mix of. Uh, no, it wasn't planned like so. It might should have been, but it's not me.
Well, a gut feeling is as good as any reason, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Um, yeah, but then you also can do it. You can step it up a level and do it 1008
Mm,
if you want.
mm.
Um, and you can continue on. But it's a very why I use that ritual is because when you recite the names, you occupy your mind with saying something, and the movement, taking the spoon of mead and pouring over the statue, you are occupying your body. So you're sort of freeing your soul to participate in another level. and that is that is the purpose for every mantra or that you do, to occupy your mind. So that's why I choose that.
And do you see images, or do you get messages from the gods when you perform ritual?
Not when I mean, I try to stay as focused as I can and not experiencing things. I have to sort of learn to shut that out. Otherwise, well, I want to have a clear mind.
Mm.
But afterwards, yes.
Yeah. So after you've performed the ritual, what, when you're in bed, or when
Hmm.
you okay, so you'd have
Yeah.
dreams?
Mostly waking dreams, if you could say.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
the strongest and the most profound way of meeting them.
Yeah.
For me, it.
I try to keep my mind clear, but it's that clarity that actually allows me to see things.
Hmm.
Otherwise, my mind is too busy the rest of the time.
Yep.
Is there anything that you've seen that you would like to share in any of your waking dreams?
uh, yeah, well, okay. A strong one. I woke up and had a horse head like this,
Wow.
and the horse was like dark blue, or like a corpse blue, and on it sat a man. I couldn't see who he was, and the horse with his big lips. My name is Har. And then okay.
Wow.
That was a bit strange, talking horse. And I've tried to look up with a blue horse. I can't find anything in any mythology. But Har is well, it's a name for Odin. So I don't know. I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
The only place that I know of a blue horse is at the Denver airport, which has all
Oh,
sorts of
yeah,
urban
true.
attached to it.
Oh,
Modern legends. Can't
maybe.
vouch for any of them.
No, that's true.
Maybe it was talking about your bloodline.
Hmm. I don't know.
Yeah.
Many strange. But it's also this. If we start to talk about all the things we experience when we are in the stone circles and all that, then you create a, what do you say, antipatition? No, you create something that people think they will see,
Mm-hmm.
and that is not good, because then people come and I don't see anything,
Yeah.
and yeah, that is a big hindrance, because seeing those stuff is, I mean, that's not the big part of it.
No. It's nice,
Yeah, I
but
wouldn't like to live without it. That would
yeah.
be super boring. So, but I always try not to speak too much about it for that reason.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I always bother you with my visions to
Yeah,
see
yeah.
what they may.
Well, that's good. We have interesting conversations for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just don't know
Yeah,
what they
for sure.
mean. So let's talk about the outdoor sitting.
Yeah,
So we've talked about that on this podcast before, but basically it's when you go off by yourself in the middle of the night, and traditionally you would lay on the tomb of an ancestor or a burial mound.
yeah. Well, that is a very good way of conquering your fear and ego, because we are not used to. First off, most people are not used to darkness and silence and being outside alone. So that is the first step. You're conquering your fear, and that is bringing honor to your Haminge and to your Fylgja. Um, and the other one is, I mean, if you are sitting on a grave mound or in a stone circle or any other ancient site, you probably will meet them. I say probably.
What advice would you have for people like me who are nowhere near their birthland? So I don't have any ancestors in this land. Where would I go?
But you have.
Maybe in a faraway past.
Yeah,
That's possible. Mm.
definitely have. Then I should sort of seek in nature a place of power.
Oh. Yeah, there's plenty of megaliths here, so I could
Yeah,
definitely go to those. Mm.
but where are you? Italy or?
Yes, Italy. Mm.
Hmm. But you know, in north of Italy, they were worshipping Odin,
That's true. That is
gods.
true.
Yeah.
Actually, my particular town is called is in a variation of Rocca Helvetica because the
Uh-huh.
city guard stopped here.
Yeah, yeah. I have I have a friend in Rome who wrote a book about it. I think it's in Italy, so I haven't read it, about the history of the goats up there
Mhm.
and the place names of Odin. So
Mhm.
maybe that is something you should look into.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah.
And what should the intention be when you perform the sitting out?
Well, there you can have a specific question actually, or a issue you want to resolve and get an answer to. That's what these stories about them say they did. They had a question, and they went to their forefathers' graves and sat there and waited until they got an answer. Otherwise, it's just the conquering of the fear that
Mm.
brings honor.
Yeah. And actually, for me, I had events that happened that were really unexpected. And it was just the feeling that I got from the earth,
Hmm.
that the earth was the spirit of the earth was communicating with me, and in a really like maternal, nurturing way. That I know that I wouldn't have got that connection if I hadn't been, in the dark alone.
Yeah,
So
you gave that offer for sure.
yeah. So let's talk about your statues. Now I've got a couple of them.
Yeah,
So Anders makes beautiful statues of Odin, Thor, the Valknut, incense burners. There's what you've made one of Frigga, haven't you? There's a
yeah, yeah,
Frigga.
yeah. I have like, I think it's sort of 40 different products in that category. So I've
Wow.
been creating.
Yeah, a lot. Now the difference between you and probably most other people that make statues like that is that you are absolutely devoted to the gods.
Yeah, and I can't make them if I mean I can't say to myself now I want to do a statue of Uller. That wouldn't work. That wouldn't work. I couldn't do it. It's when they say they want me to do it, I do it. Then it's the flow is there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every statue is, I mean, it takes some great time to do them. And that time I see as an offering as well. So for me, it's a ritual work I have actually, because that's what I live on. Strangely enough.
Were
And
you
those, sorry,
sorry?
go ahead. Go ahead, Tina.
Were you ever surprised that you felt a prompt to make a certain statue? Was there ever a god that you thought like, I would never thought that I would make this statue?
Nowadays, it always feels totally. The flow is there, and then when the flow is there, it's how it should be.
Okay.
I never ponder much about it. I just do it.
Yeah. Mm.
And how long have you been making the statues for?
Well, I started. It was when I started the Odin World Prey Day. I needed to have a bronze statue. So since 2015. Yeah.
And your statues, you can actually pour the offering onto them without them getting damaged, which is pretty unique.
Yeah. They are made for ritual use.
Mm.
And I would like to have them all in bronze, but it's way too expensive, so it doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
So you just, it seems a lot like the gods kind of tell you to do something and then you do it. You just get it done without, because your connection with them is so strong.
Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So let's talk about your book.
yeah.
So it's the Way of Wotan, the Nordic Soul Complex. Now, first of all, not many people know this, but there are actually different parts to the soul. So it's not this new age or Abrahamic concept of the soul where it's just this like one thing and it lives inside. It's totally separate from your DNA, your blood, and it lives inside and then it wishes off somewhere when you die. What is what actually is what are the different parts of the soul?
Well, we have 5 main parts that is sort of us as persons. Uh, and the first one is leek, and that is the body, the vessel, the physical me. And leek is also in Scandinavia the name for a corpse. So without a soul, you are a corpse. The body is a leek. And the other one is ek, which means the self or the ego, the one who thinks that that I am Anders. That's ek. And ek in Old Norse means me. So on runestones and such, you can see ek risti, I have carved. And then you have hugr, and that is the mind, um, thoughts, feelings, all that goes around in your head, the chatterbox. And mini, which is the memory, of course. Not only storage, but genetic memory also. And then we have the hardest part to explain is the ond, the soul, which sort of is all encompassing. It's everywhere in all those parts. It's not a, like the Christians say, one soul. The ond is omnipresent in us somehow. I can't explain. But in the book, I have a what I think the best explanation for it. It is a aquarium, and then the glass of the aquarium is the body, the leak that holds everybody, the all other parts into it. We could speak of this enormously, but please ask questions.
So there's a
Go ahead, Fiona.
there's a genetic connection going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, the genetic connection is you have it in your body, of course, the physical body, and in your memory. We have our see the memory as in a computer or in a you sort your memories into. I mean, everything you see around you here gets stored somewhere into your memory, important or non-important. But you also have genetic memory, and that is actually scientifically proven today by a study of mice, which they fed the mice mother, I don't know, mice mother, some good food, and she ate and ate, and suddenly they poisoned that food, and she get ill and died. And her kids learned this, and they somehow, in their genetic memory, learned their kids. So no other mice forward ate that good food. So that
For
is,
mice.
yeah, and we have all those twin studies as well for genetic memories, but I think the mice one is the best one. And there is where, I mean, like traumas, they get inherited. And we have fears that we really can't explain why we have fears. I mean, for snakes or spiders, or I mean, up here in Scandinavia, we don't have any poisonous spiders, but still people are afraid of them. Why? Genetic memory. It's super important, of course, for people to have that.
So what about past lives?
Yeah, that's the hard one. Because we are so used to thinking of past lives like, okay, I've been that, and I've been that person. I don't think it's that easy. Because we are different parts, and I mean, the ond, the soul, and the genetic memory, they go on somehow, but they are not one. And I mean, you get me, they are not, they don't get reborn together. The genetic memory is something that is spread out. But the soul, the ond, that is something else. That is something that is sort of close to the Christians' concept of soul, maybe, or the Hindus' reincarnation thought. I can't. I have no answer for past lives. More than somehow it exists in some way, shape, or form.
Well, I have a question about something that is different from what we were just talking, but it goes about the 5 parts of the soul. And it is about a topic that I have found that is endlessly fascinating to me is the concept of the NPC, the non-player character, the people that seem to be going on automatic. They don't really think, they just react. You're familiar with it, I'm sure. What part do they lack in this philosophy? Is it the egg, the self?
No, I would say that there is no, they are maybe not lacking a part, but they are just into like Hugger, the mind.
Mm.
And if you see the mind as a like the ocean, it's like today it's so stormy. It's like wind and waves. You can't see anything. It's just like crazy. And you're trying to hold your head above the surface. And that is what the other ones that we spoke of before, are trying, or not trying, they are doing it, creating this chaotic environment that our mind is just occupied by chaos and fear, totally, all the time. And if you look into a still pond of water, you can see the bottom. And on the bottom there, you can see the true you. And that is why they keep these waves going.
And what would be the spiritual significance of a person that never manages to see themselves in that water, or that just is forever confused by the chaos?
For them.
Mm.
Well, it affects us all as well, because the more true we are to ourselves, the collective is gaining from that.
Mm.
And the more soulless we have, the easier it is for the chaotic powers to rule. So that is also why I wrote the book, to help people still the mind, to help us all. If we find ourselves, we help people to find themselves, in a sense.
Ritual is certainly a good way to do that. I have found that myself. We have this need almost as humans. We ritualize a lot of our behavior anyway. So we do with our spirituality, and it actually helps to calm down, to not be so affected by everything around us.
That is very true. And rituals, from the beginning, all rituals were a copying of the creation myth they had in all religions. I mean, pre-Abrahamic ones. So you recreated the construction of the universe, as above, so below, to have it in balance. That is and then you sort of organize your world here, but in spirit. You organize things.
So I just want to touch back on the past lives thing, because I think that something that bothers me about the kind of the new age concept of past lives is that it kind of induces this passiveness. It makes people passive. They're kind of like, oh, it doesn't matter if I don't get everything done in this life. I've always got the next life. And they also think that you can kind of like whiz into any body of your choosing, which is so bizarre to me.
Yeah.
They think that you can choose your lives, and I just think, well, I think it's BS, to be honest. What do you think?
Well, I don't think that you can choose like that. You choose by doing honorable things in life here. That is how you choose, maybe. But I mean, I have self-experienced the other side a few times. and I've never gotten a choice. Would you like to be this one or? Um, no, I think the best is. I mean, none of us can say for sure,
Mm-hmm.
and if you say for sure, you're lying.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. That's the fun part
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. Because we can't, none of us can say for
No,
sure. None of us can. So for people to speak with like the absolute certainty about everything, I just think, well, you don't know.
no. If you speak like you have to say that this is my experience of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is me talking. Um,
Yeah, there's actually a bit in the Rig Veda that mentions the afterlife, and it kind of says like whatever you believe is going to shape your afterlife or the next life. You know, it says something like if you worship the ancestors, you'll join the ancestors. If you worship demons, you'll join them. And you know, I don't think it's as straightforward as we all think.
no, I mean that is a good concept. Um, you are what you think, so why not in the afterlife? I don't know. If you go around and think that, damn, I'm ugly, well, you feel ugly.
Hmm.
Maybe you don't become ugly, but you feel ugly. So maybe
So what
we
about
were.
the, oh, sorry, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
we were talking about the soul complex. We have
Hmm.
we spoke about the things that we are. I mean, the body and all that, but we have things that follow us as close as the other ones, but they are not part of us in that way. And that is the Vode, which is the ecstatic experience of religious. I mean, or when I create, when I get into that flow, that is the Vode that comes to me. Or if you're a musician, you just get lost in the music. That is the Vode. And that is something that comes from outside and affects us. And that is most probably Odin.
Hmm.
And then we have the Hamminga. And the Hamminga is that is the collective collective memory or collective DNA, where afterlife also comes in with the reincarnation thought that what we do will affect us and everybody after us, like the mice experience there. And we also have the Filga, the follower, or yeah, what do you say in um, spiritual guide?
Mm.
But that can be a that can be a human form. Haven't seen many, but most of them are animals. Why that is, I don't know. And Fulgias can you can get rid of Fulgias by doing what do you say, bad stuff, harmful stuff to others. They are attracted to honor and doing stuff you don't like to do. I mean, sort of. And you have Fulgias that follow uh, families for
Mm.
generations. So you can. That is why bad people that do bad things can be very successful and be lucky in everything because they have inherited a strong Fulgia from their past.
Mm.
So, by and also people, I mean, like folk, countries, nations can attract or have fylgjas.
Can you have more than one?
Probably. I don't know. I've never met anyone that has more. Maybe. Never thought of it.
Just from my own experience, I have two,
Hmm.
and one is a family.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, true.
And
Yeah.
it's like the traditional banshee, of the Irish traditions.
Hmm.
They don't just show up when someone, is going to die. They are like a guardian spirit. And I have one in my family, but then I also seem to have like a more personal one,
That's true. You're
which is
correct.
an animal.
I had a bear for a long time since I was very young. And one night I awoke again, and she handed over me a little cub bear that was lying on my chest, and she told me the name, and she left. So now I have a little cute bear cub. It's grown since then, but it's still quite small.
Why did that happen, do
I
you
don't
think?
know. I don't know. It was done with love. It was very, very nice feeling. It was very cute.
Yeah. And how can we contact the Fylgja or connect?
Well, sitting is a great way to do that with the intention of doing that, meeting the Fulgia. Otherwise, they usually show up somehow. Yeah,
And should we give them offerings?
I would say yes. I haven't done it more than. I mean, no, I haven't done it actually. But that is probably a very good way to do it. Offerings is always good in any
Yeah.
way.
Would you recommend wearing their likeliness in jewelry or clothing?
Our ancestors very much did so.
Mm.
So probably yes.
Mm.
Like the berserkers and the wolves, the wolf
Mhm.
warriors wearing, yeah.
It would be hard wouldn't it be difficult though to ethically source? Like
Mm,
they would have killed the animal themselves.
yeah.
So
It's like if you find it lying in front of you.
yeah. It will kind of it will offer itself
Yeah.
to you.
No, I would never use a killed bear.
Hmm.
No,
No way.
no.
No. So have you got any advice for beginner polytheists, beginner pagans?
Oi. Well, I mean, we are starting in a very steep slope. Uh, I mean, you have to read a lot of different sources
Mm-hmm.
and try to connect them to get a full picture or a not a full picture, but otherwise start by giving offerings, doing floats. That's the main action, and
And
use the runes.
yes.
Buy some good rune books. example, Freya Aswyn's.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're a big fan of Freya in this
Yeah.
podcast. We love her. Is there anyone else that you would recommend?
I think that you will get what you need when you swim.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the one other very important thing that is not to cling to a structure before you have found yourself. If you get me, don't say, "Oh, now I'm this," because I have followed this one. You should follow yourself because you have found yourself. So that's the main goal, I'd say. And when you have found yourself, you will help others.
Yeah. It's true.
But rituals and practice, discipline, and offerings.
Hmm. Yeah. And if Sagittarius can be so disciplined, then anyone can.
True, true.
Is there anything else that you would like to ask Anders, Tina?
Just one thing. I know that you make your statues. How come you have never felt that? Why don't you do rune readings for people?
For me, the runes are way too complex. I
Mm,
mean, um, I don't use them in that way. Also, for me personally, I don't say it's wrong or anything to do that. I think it's very good. But for me, they are like natural forces
mm,
that affects me.
mhm.
I have a very hard time interpret them like that. If I ask a question, or they don't work like that for me.
Mm.
They are more like archetypes that work on a deeper level in me.
Yeah. Mm.
So that's why.
And do you use them in your rituals ever?
Yeah, always.
Mhm,
Yeah, I use them daily.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
That is something that I have myself told people, like, before you try anything like reading runes or divination, you should try to use them in your magic workings, your rituals. You'll get a much better
Definitely.
understanding.
And you have to internalize them. You have to become them before you.
Mhm.
And the one good way is the rune meditation. You meditate upon one rune and learn to see it with your inner eyes. So you can draw it in the air and it stays there. And you can see it with your physical eyes also.
Yeah, that's true.
Then there are some techniques. Maybe that's the next book. Techniques for
Mm. I was just going to ask that. Any plans for another book?
have many, but it is the vote that needs to be there. Otherwise, it won't work. So when the vote comes, it will be a new one.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really enjoyed it. And I'm going to leave all of your links in the video description for
Sure.
your statues and Odin World Prayer Day. Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
Yeah, let's just fill up that dried out riverbed with
Yeah.
enormous volumes of archetypal water
Yeah.
and hail Odin.
Hail Odin.
Hello there.
Yeah, indeed. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll be back soon with another episode.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.